Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another Video Gaming Federation Strat Corner podcast. I never really plug the website, so I should probably start doing that, just in case people go to the host site or whatever. Should let them know that the VGF is a real site. We're there. We got blogs and stuff to fucking look at and raffle. So we have our first repeat guest of this podcast series. Esam, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, first repeat guest. I believe it was the Dragunov episode that you were on last time, if I do recall correctly.
Yep. With our fallen comrade, Dan.
Indeed. Yeah, life has sucked him up, the evil kraken that is life. But, it's okay. We're still, we're limping on without him, so, doing our thing.
So, out of retirement.
Indeed. So, don't think we really need to introduce you, because if anybody wants to know you, if they don't already know you, they can always go back and listen to that podcast. So trying to spread the wealth to our other podcasts. Try to get a little bit of variety out there. So I won't have you go through your resume yet again. Actually, quite a bit to talk about, believe it or not, on this one, because I got a few chit-chat topics for us in addition to the tech and related stuff. So we are doing Raven this time, but before we get into to that character, and we'll see if Esam believes the hype about Garbo or not. But before then, I've been trying to think of things to do for the VGF. I feel like I love this podcast. I love doing it, but I feel like we should be doing more. I haven't given anything away in a long time, way longer than I rightfully should have on the site. So we're going to do something for the holidays for sure. I haven't decided exactly what yet, but I think I want to do something like a turkey giveaway, for Thanksgiving, but don't really know what sorts of things I can send to people.
Is that code for a hooker?
Sure, yes. I mean, if they
would be a
had
great giveaway.
I think so too. If they had gift cards for hookers, I'd give that out.
I would sign up multiple times.
But just kind of an informational session or a little bit here. If you want to get involved in these drawings, again, not sure exactly what I'll give away, probably like an Amazon gift card or something like that. I'll probably do it a couple times, one for Thanksgiving and maybe a couple for both the Christmas holiday section of December as well as New Year's or something like that. But if you want to get involved in that and get entered into the drawing, you got to register on the site. I'm not quite sure what the hell I'm going to do with all those registrations yet, because we're not really a newsletter type of thing, unfortunately. I wish I had news that other people didn't, but I really don't. So I can't really do that. But I'll figure out something eventually. So just register. We don't give away your information or anything like that. So if you want to get entered into some free stuff, definitely get on to the VGF site and register. And feel free to donate if you want to. Not that I expect anybody to do that, but got to ask. You never know. So that's really all I have for the little prelim stuff. So I guess we can start talking Tekken. Wow, where to begin with this character? Okay, so what I've been doing, Esam, is I've been asking our experts, where the weaknesses and strengths are of this character. So I'll actually rephrase it for this character. Are there any strengths?
Well, yeah, he does. I mean, the thing about Raven is he gets better as your opponent gets better. The more your opponent knows about your character, the more opportunities you have to make him a strong character. Like, if somebody doesn't know about Raven's ridiculousness, they're not going to fall into your traps. But if they do know a lot about Raven, that's when they get themselves set up to get beaten up by Raven.
Which is really funny, because that's very counterintuitive. You wouldn't think of any character being like that. I mean, the more that you don't know, usually the more shenanigans come into play. But so hit us up. So what sorts of things? Because, as far as I know, he has a few spacing tools, but he's not really a good spacing character for the most part. I think he has actually pretty decent highs and mids, and a lot of people rag on his lows, but I think they're usable. But it's weird, like I don't feel like his moveset like complements any sort of game style or play style.
Well,
So
I think of him
I
as
guess I'll
a
throw
really
that
heavy
out to you.
50-50 character. Like, his quarter circle forward mix-ups, he can go low or go mid, and they're all, I mean, it's very difficult to see the difference, and if you didn't know there was a difference, you might just think they're separate moves, but if you do know that there's a difference there, then you can set people up for 50-50s.
Does he have
A lot of his
the
back turn, a lot of his back turn moves are the same. Like, it starts out with a move, and then you can transition it to something else. And if the other person doesn't know that that's there, they might not be looking to try and guess out one of your two options. They might just be blocking whatever their standard block is. But because he's such a heavy 50-50 character, the other person has to be in on the knowledge.
Gotcha. So, can he low parry, or does he have any like parry or reversal option out of that crouch dash?
I don't think he can parry while crouch dashing, but he does have a pretty good low parry combo. So I mean, if you only get as far as the down forward and happen to get a low parry while you're going into the transition of crouch dashing, then he can do his down forward to float them and do his regular combos on them. Yeah, I don't think he can. If you begun the animation of crouch dashing, I don't think you can then hit down forward and still low parry. But if you are doing your quarter circle forward and you happen to low parry while you're at the down forward position, it will still low parry.
Okay, because the only reason that I was asking that is because, like, does he have any crush moves out of that thing? Because I don't think quarter circle forward 4 low crushes, does it?
I don't think. No. Oh well, quarter circle forward 3 kind of ducks highs a bit, but I don't think he has any low crushes from that.
Because I'm wondering if just like a down jab, like, just stops all of that completely. I mean, does he have any option or like counter to that out of the crouch dash?
Not really, no. I mean, if somebody is that good at timing things, yes, they can down forward or down jab you, but it'd be really difficult to do. I mean, I don't even worry about that, even in tournament situation.
Something to try out, I guess, because I remember at least in T5 and still to some extent in T6, Mishimas have a lot of trouble dealing with a long down jab, like for characters that have like a generic down 2, where it's just pretty much a crouching 1 except it's 2, so it's same speed, but it ends up going longer.
Well, it's probably just a risk versus reward. With Raven, I mean, if you block one of his crouch dash options, you are almost guaranteed any launcher of your choice. So people aren't going to try and jab him out of it when, if they guess right, well, they can just take a quarter of your life or more.
Fair enough. And that's actually kind of a good transition into another big issue with Raven, because from what I hear and from like what I've seen and everything, he's one of the most punishable characters in the game.
He is very
like
punishable.
A huge issue. So,
which is why I think of him as a very hard 50-50 character. Either you guess right and you lose, or you guess wrong and he takes half your life.
And I guess that's actually another thing too, kind of 2 topics rolled into one, because I know that his juggles, they've changed a lot since T5, because I know he has some like knee juggles, but like in T5 it was all knees all the time. But I know his juggles are still pretty good, and I think most of them end in the 4-4-4, I think, the flip over one. So
it depends on what you're going for. A lot of I just came back from Japan, and I just came back from Japan. In Japan, they kind of stopped using the sidestep jab in the middle of the combo to get extra knees in there, because people found that depending on where you put your bound move, you can actually get quite a bit of wall carry out of Raven. So sometimes you might want to 4-4-4 at the end just to get somebody to a wall. However, if you get them higher up on the wall, you get much better rewards for your wall filth. Like if you use 4-4-4, you're pretty much limited to 4-3+4, 3+4, or whatever is your normal wall filth. But if you get them there with jabs, or you get them there with a knee, it opens up back turn shenanigans and way better okies when they're getting them off the ground. So it's not always best to end with the forward, 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 but a lot of people do. I like to end mine with 2-4, which does a little bit more damage and carries them quite a bit further and hits them higher on a wall.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought that kind of launched a little bit higher, but I wasn't quite sure. Not the one thing I guess about doing these podcasts it's kind of neat, at least for me, is like there's certain characters that I get to play with that I usually don't have the ambition to play with. So I was messing with them a little bit earlier today, and doing knee juggles because that's what I remember from T5. But aside from that, like I don't know, all of his bound moves are kind of weird. So how reliable are these juggles? Because you said like they've switched up in Japan to starting to use these different enders and trying to get higher on the wall and whatnot. And like how much better is that?
Well, if you're going for maximum damage, that's the way to go. I mean, before people were doing these sidestep ones in the middle of a combo, which in itself is not very reliable because you're often going to miss that, and even high-level tourney players will miss that in a combo. But the more reliable and the longer carry is what people are going for more often within now.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's go kind of backtrack a little bit then and go back to the 50-50 safety thing, because I think that's probably his biggest issue. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean he would be a much, much, much better character if they fixed even a few moves and made them a little bit more safe. But so this 50-50 game, is that like everything that he is? I mean, because I know he has some pokes and stuff, but I don't think he has a lot of keep out. I know his down forward one is pretty good. Jabs I think are average. I don't think there's like anything.
Yeah, there's not a lot of places that he can get frame advantage on people, so he can't really be a bulldog character. It's really about getting your optimal spacing and then throwing at your 50-50 move. But even some of his punishable 50-50s you can diminish the amount of punishability. Like Quarter Circle Forward 2, if you just do the regular one, it's like -17 or something, so he's going to get launched no matter what. But there's a just frame version of Quarter Circle Forward 2 that makes it -14 or something like that. So you can reduce the punishability, but it's still always going to be there.
So obviously the quarter circle forward motion is kind of an elongated motion. So what's the just frame on that when you're supposed to hit it?
It's like doing electric wind guide fists. If you hit the 2 exactly when you hit the forward, you get the just frame version. You don't do any sort of forward motion. You don't get a crouch dash out of it. It just happens right away. And that version is less punishable than if you had moved forward just before the 2.
What a weird just frame. Because, I mean, he's still punishable, but he's not as punishable.
Yeah, but really you're not going to get launched at a -14 usually.
That's true, but there's a ton of characters that have those nasty 13 frame punishers. But I guess it's something to play with,
Well, it's good, especially if your opponent is expecting the punishability of 17 frames for a Quarter Circle Forward 2. They throw out that move, and ta-da, you've just blocked whatever their launcher is, and then you have the opportunity. So at least punishing that particular move is sometimes dangerous for the person punishing.
So what's the better mix-up option to that? I mean, I would imagine, I know that Quarter Circle Forward 4 is really good.
Well, he's got a lot of transitions just from Quarter Circle Forward 2 to something else. Like you can do Quarter Circle Forward 2 and then cancel it with a 1 and he does his mid instead of his low. Or you can hold back and he just stops in his back turn animation right in front of them. So you have a couple of options after even committing to Quarter Circle Forward 2.
So when you're trying to run your game, are you strictly doing Quarter Circle Forward 2 mix-ups, or are you actually mixing up the Quarter Circle Forward 2 with another Quarter Circle Forward?
Well, I'll Quarter Circle Forward just to get into range for certain things. Like I'll Quarter Circle Forward, then back to down forward and do his crouching throw, his down forward 1+4. So they'll see the animation of it coming and be ready for some move to come out of it, and then that throw comes out really quickly. So that'll throw people off. Or Quarter Circle Forward and then hit back right in front of them, and they're thinking some move is going to happen here, but they've already lost the momentum of being able to guess because you haven't done a move at all.
So they've already committed to guess. Yeah.
Right.
So you usually don't use like Quarter Circle Forward 4 or Quarter Circle Forward 1+2 or any of that stuff.
Quarter Circle Forward 4 is also kind of punishable, but at maximum distance, like if you just barely hit them with the tip of your toe, I don't think it's really punishable by most of the characters in the game. A few characters can punish it, but because of the distance that it creates, most people cannot punish it. So it's a good spacing tool, and especially if they're running in and get launched by it, well, that's just happy times.
Absolutely happy times. The few times that they actually happen with Raven. So, okay, so we have some safety issue, but he has this 50-50 game working with him. So, obviously you need time to transition and start your 50-50. Now, I haven't really known Raven to be like a big crush property character, but he has a lot of like, disappearing shenanigans and whatnot. And as far as I know, the only scary like keep out move that he has is 2-4. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like what kind of things are you doing other than just like backdash canceling to try to create that space?
Well, he gets a lot of plus frames out of down forward ones. So if people are constantly getting in on you, you can push them back with down forward one. It's like -1 or -2 on block, but it's +6 or something on hit. So you can create time for yourself in that way. Also, back one causes your opponent to crouch, and you can take that opportunity to move around. And he's also got the up back to get out of range of most people and set up his timing for 50-50 there.
All right. So then, so are you usually? So I mentioned 2-4, but I would imagine that you're just trying to move away during most of this process, or are there actually like certain moves that you're like, okay, you're trying to rush me down, I'm going to do this now to maybe accomplish.
If I feel that I'm getting rushed down, I will use my down forward one and then backdash, or of course forward 4 if I see them like running at me to get into space, and that will stop them in their tracks, and then they'll have to deal with that while I'm also moving away again.
So just like lots of little pokes and flipping away and backdash.
Yeah, that's the only real tool that he has to set up those other 50-50s. I mean, he does have a lot of really good high crushes, especially like down forward 3. If he does crush a high with that, you get his biggest launcher in the game and his highest damage combo. So if people are coming in and using their really fast moves, usually highs like jabs and things, you can punish people by crushing that high and taking a big chunk of their life.
Yeah, I know counter hit launchers tend to be pretty painful, so not too surprised at that. Although I think even like in open space, he gets like almost 100 off of that. So.
At least, yeah.
So okay, so I know that his juggle damage is pretty decent. So kind of bouncing back to something we talked about earlier, you were talking about his wall filth, but both his wall filth and his just damage in general, just out in the open, not necessarily in a juggle situation. I mean, is it pretty good? Because I would think, like from the sounds of it, you're just like trying to create the 50-50, but just poking until you can.
No, his basic damage is pretty weak. You really have to set up those 50-50s to get some scary damage out of him. Otherwise, he's just about these little tiny pokes that set up timing or frustrate your opponent.
Okay, so then let's talk about the wall stuff. So his regular wall damage, I mean, you said forward 34, and then another 3+4.
Forward 3+4, 4, 1+2 is the basic one, which it does a good amount of damage. But if you get them high enough, you can also do back 2 to 1+2, or back 2 to 4, and that one actually does quite a bit of damage, more than the standard forward 3+4 one.
Okay, so let's kind of combine topics here then, both wall damage and Oki, because you mentioned his Oki earlier. I'm fairly certain he has some pretty decent Oki options, especially at the wall. So since his wall damage, unless it's a high wall splat, seems to be like kind of in the middle of the road, what sorts of things are you looking to get after the wall juke?
Even if you don't have a wall, if you end it with forward 4, like you were talking about earlier, the timing of the hit of forward 4 determines how far away their body lands from you. So if you hit them very low to the ground, they'll end up very close to you, and you get any sort of back turn setup that you want on somebody from that. Otherwise, if I have somebody at the wall, I usually turn back turn on purpose because he has much faster lows out of that position, and he's got an unseeable throw. Like you can't see what hand he's using because in back turn doesn't matter what input you use, the same animation happens. So I'll set people up by getting them to a wall, then turning back turn and making them guess low, throw, or whatever his mid options might be. 1+2 would be a good one.
Yeah, we've actually mentioned that quite a few times on the podcast, because I missed the days where it was really really hard to guess throws, and you have to be in back turn in order to get that sort of animation. So always looking for back turn setups. Always looking for those.
Yeah, all his wall filth gives him plenty of time to turn into that back turn and wait for the opponent to stand up too. So he's got at least that advantage at a wall. Also, his 1+2 throw leaves them grounded for quite a long time, and you actually have options for tech rollers too. So that's a particularly devastating choice.
I actually want to talk about or ask about those options, because one of the things that I always thought was an advantage for certain characters is when you have an option that covers as many of your opponent's options as possible in just one move. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Raven has options for whatever your opponent decides to do, but I think it's different for every single option. I mean, he doesn't have just one catch-all move, I don't think.
No, he doesn't. Not for tech rollers. He's got down back 4, which will catch people rolling back, and then he's got forward 2-3, which will catch people rolling, I think, just to the right.
So
people rolling to the left, I don't think he's got much. He's got forward 2, just 2-4 actually for people going to the left.
Okay, so then let me throw this question out at you. Like, do you see that as an advantage or a disadvantage? Because I always thought it was a little bit of a disadvantage to have to, think about, okay, is he, of the 6 options my opponent has getting up, I have 6 different options. So now I have to guess. So the odds drop. But, I mean, at least you still have those options. So, like, how do you see that?
Well, I would say it's pretty neutral for him, because if you whiff one of those moves to try and catch a tech roller, you're not going to get punished for it in most cases unless you do down back 4. But if you're doing forward 2-3 or 2-4, they can't get up and then punish you if you've whiffed over their tech an opposite direction of what you thought they might go. So he comes out pretty neutral there.
So in one area, at least, he's kind of safe.
Yep, one of the few.
Okay, so are the options, the Oki options, roughly the same in every situation, or do they change?
They're basically the same. Like any time that you would have advantage over a downed opponent, you're going to be in the position where you can either forward 2-4, 2-4, forward 2-3, 2-4, or down back 4.
So those are going to be your basic 3 then for whatever situation. Okay, cool. Okay, well, I mean, I guess that's better than having 6 different options for the same thing. So I mean, you said that you like to get in the back turn at the wall, but I mean, is there anything else? I mean, does it pretty much just dumb down to, okay, back turn, and I'm going to do make you guess on that, or are there other things? Because I think if I recall correctly, I think he has some tech traps at the wall, but I'm not 100% sure what they are.
I don't think he has anything that's different from any other character. I mean, you can set up a throw for when they get up, or you can back off and let them make the mistake first. But I mean, he's basically the same as anybody else there. But he has that back turn option that gives him faster moves. Like most of his moves come out faster in back turn, so that's why I used the back turn next to a wall. Like his jabs even get faster in back turn. I don't know why, but they do.
Well, I think I'd have to look it up here real quick, but I know that like the generic one jab for most characters in back turn is 8 frames as opposed to the 10 frames.
Yep, his as well.
Okay, well then, even in back turn, does he have any like scary wall splatting moves, specifically mid? Because I mean that's usually what you want.
Yeah, back turn 1+2 is really fast and wall splats again. So if they get up into that, they've reset themselves into the mix zone.
Is that safe, or how negative is that if they have to block?
Back turn 1+2 is not safe. Forward turn 1+2 is safe though, but that's one of his options.
Now I'm curious. I gotta look it up. Man, I'm like the worst at like reading these lists. Every time I like try to find a move, I can never fucking find it.
At minimum, he can be jabbed after back turn 1+2.
Okay, here it is. Back turn. Da, 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 da. 1 plus 2, negative 14. Ooh, that's pretty rough.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not the greatest.
But I'm curious. You said the jab. So what? So his 2-1 string is 10 frames, so that's standard. But his 1-4 string is 8. Starts 8 frames, so that's good. Because most characters aren't going to have a string out of their back turn 1 jab, so that's pretty good. That's guaranteed too, right? Back turn at the 1 hits. I think the 4 is guaranteed.
Yes. Also, actually, he's got in back turn he can do back 2, which is his elbow, which is mid, and gives you plus frames on hit, and on block it's safe. But if it's on counter hit, you get back 2, 3 plus 4, which is a super high launcher. So you get not only another wall splat, but they're very high.
So is that something that can be hit confirmed, or can he just?
Yeah, you can hit confirm that one.
That's super cheap, but I guess it's not like insanely fast or anything like that. Yeah, because I'm looking through this move list, and we're talking about the safety issue, and we're talking about these Oki mix-ups and whatnot. But the big problem that I always thought he had is that he doesn't have he has good mids, some decent mids and whatnot. Down back 2-1, is pretty standard. That's a bread and butter move. But he doesn't have that really, really scary mid. We mentioned, the back turn 1 plus 2, and then it's you can do it facing forward as well. But nothing that just frightens you, And a lot of characters
and that's
have
what keeps him out of a higher tier than he is. I mean, you're asking me before if I'm into the hype of saying he's low tier. I think he is low tier, and for that particular reason, he has no scary move that he can just spam. You really have to get into the nitty gritty of a fight with somebody. You can't just rely on something like that to save.
All right. So, I'm trying to think of some more questions here. Oh, another area, actually, while I'm thinking about it, because everybody says he's a low tier character. You just said he's at the bottom end, and another area of weakness that is to me is right behind the safety issue is not only is he unsafe, but he has a huge problem punishing people. Because I think 2-4 is not guaranteed unless it's counter hit. So at 10 frames,
right.
I think he just gets jabs, right?
Yep, just jabs. At 11 frames, he's got wall rising 4 if you block a low, but his next fastest is until 13 or 14 frames.
Yeah, and I was actually just going to say that. I don't think he has anything until 14, and honestly, off the top of my
down
head,
back 2-1, I believe, is 13 frames. And both hits are...
You got to fact check you. Fact check.
Okay.
But even then...
But you get both hits if you get the first.
That's true. But, again, going back to that, how scary are you as a character thing, that's at 13 frames, that doesn't scare me all that much.
Yeah, no, it's not that great. His real meaty punishment all happens at 15 or better.
Does he have a launcher at 15? I don't think he does, right?
He's got 1 plus 2 at 15, which isn't a launcher, but if there's a wall there, you get a wall splat. His first launcher is at 15 frames if you're doing wall rising 1. Otherwise, 16 frames you can force slide 3.
Yeah, and you were absolutely correct. Down back 2-1 is 13 frames. So a little bit of knowledge there. I actually didn't know that. Not that it really changes the way I play Raven, but more knowledge the better. Okay, so you have 4 slide 3.
Enough of those and enough plus frames from that, and your opponent is in a bad situation.
True. And then I think he also has down 4 too, right? I know it's not 15 frames. What is it here? It says it's 16, so I guess
16
that's another
frames.
16. Yeah, so I guess that's another 16 option. So I guess he has stuff at 16.
Actually, if he's off axis by even a little bit, down 4-2 becomes 15 frames also.
Stupid off-axis crap.
Yeah, he actually relies on off-axis a lot. For most of his big juggles, you have to be off-axis.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say that because I know that the down 4-3 that you mentioned earlier, I believe that if that hits counter hit and you get the juggle, that it actually automatically turns your opponent a little off-axis. So I mean, that's one thing. I know a lot of other moves. I think back one like turns them just a little bit. If I remember.
It depends on how close you are to them when you hit them. Just because of his weird stance, like if you hit them at very close range from with back one, his like collision model will make him move a little bit.
Gotcha. Okay, so his standing punishment is kind of crap. While standing, he has the while standing forward 11 frames, and I don't think he really has anything special up until the while standing 1.
Yeah, well, while standing 2 is 13 frames, and it does a grip of damage. Also, if they don't hit forward, they fall down.
Which is definitely a big deal, because I think you get, well, a forward 3, I'm guessing you get it for free.
Or back 3, actually, I think is the highest damage option for that one.
How far does back 3 reach?
It has, I don't know, it's hard to say really. It's got a variable distance. There are certain combos that looks like it shouldn't hit him, but that is the standard follow-up at the end of certain knockdown.
Weird. And that was actually the whole like distance thing was something else I was going to ask about too, because I know he has some moves that reach out forever. You know, like down back 2-1 has really good range. What is it, forward 2-3 or down forward 2-3? No, it's not down forward 2. Forward 2-3, is that right? The one where he reaches out.
Forward 2-3, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, with his hand. Yeah, and, which is a really good distance punisher too. But I know that goes forever. But when it comes to like juggle time, I mean, he has to have. He's got to be pretty close, I believe, because his bound options are kind of.
Well, he does have a long distance bounder too. If he's a little bit out of range, he can do up back 2 or up back 1-2, and that actually takes 2 steps before doing a bound move.
Weird, because I always thought that he had a little bit of a problem if he got like hit somebody at max range with something. He had a problem.
All of his launchers that leave him in forward turn, you can pretty much hit a back 1 to bound somebody. There's a few options that maybe you might be a little bit too far away, like if you've done a few moves first, that you might have to use the back 1 too.
All right, well then hook me up with the knowledge then. We were talking about the juggles earlier, and you know how the ender has changed a little bit for the to get the wall carry and whatnot. Is it now standard to just go straight into a back 1 and then do your stuff, or how do the juggles work?
Starting with a back 1 gives you the longest carry afterwards, but you don't get quite as much damage if there isn't a wall that you can potentially get them to. So most of my juggles start with an immediate knee to a jab, then to the back 1 to bound somebody.
And then what's usually the follow-up after that?
Knee jab, and then 4-4-4. Or if you bound them right in front of you, you can take the side step first, jab, jab, knee, jab, knee, jab.
Lots of knees. I like that. I always like to hear that, because I thought that it had gone away for a little bit just because of the bound, that it wasn't so knee heavy or knee friendly anymore. But it sounds like that was wrong.
Most of the time, to get multiple knees into one combo, though, you do have to be off axis by a little bit. So if you're using a launcher that leaves you in back turn, you don't have time to turn around and then sidestep. So it's limited to all of his forward turn ending launchers, like wall rising 1 or 4 slide 3.
All right then. Well, unless you had anything else on like the juggle issue, I did have some questions about his tracking, because I always thought that his tracking was actually pretty good. Because I think forward 2-3 that tracks pretty well. Down back 2-1.
Yeah, I've never really had trouble with tracking with him. Like down forward 1 tracks basically both ways, and unless they're using some sort of move that steps and then steps again with a move, like Marduk sidestepping into down back 1+2 or something, it'll track anybody. Even when like Nina does her sidestep 2 launcher or whatever, that step isn't wide enough to stop it down forward 1.
And I think even like even at distance, you know, like the 3-4 range, like that. I mean, with not that forward 2-3 goes like the whole screen or anything, but I mean that goes a really good distance. And I know 4-4-2 tracks. That goes really distant. I think forward, forward, forward tracks as well, right?
444 tracks to his left. So if they step left, it'll catch them. If they step right, it just goes right by them. But forward slide 3 also tracks both ways a little bit. It tracks more to his left side, so he has more leeway there. But if he steps twice to the right or something, you might whiff. But those are my two like anti-stepping moves, usually down forward 1 and forward slide 3.
Well, I guess that's a bright point because I've never really seen anybody like have a really successful time or sidestepping him. So, I mean, if you play Raven, I guess that's something to think about, is that you don't really have to worry about sidesteppers all that much, which really helps. Like, I mean, you mentioned Nina. I mean, in matchups like that where, I mean, Ninas are always trying to fit in sidestep 2 wherever they can. So, I mean, that really helps to not have to worry about that as much. I mean, you still got to worry about it because it's still a strong move, but
yeah, it just comes down to a timing issue with Nina, really. The tracking is not the issue. It's just whether or not you got your move in time.
All right, then. Well, man, I'm like running out of questions to ask about this character. I mean, it does surprise me that you say that you have to know more about the character in order for him to increase in effectiveness. Because I always thought of all of the shenanigans characters as being more effective when you don't know what's going on. So, I mean, I guess I'll phrase a question like this. Like, do you think that he has those kinds of shenanigans where you can run into a player and who doesn't have anything or doesn't know what's going on and be able to capitalize on that?
I don't think he has an advantage in that way more than any other character. I mean, if you don't know a character's strings, you don't know when to block, when to duck, when to sidestep or whatever. So the real shenanigans all come out of the fact that most of his moves are ambiguous at their startup and can end in several different ways.
So how does that, as a Raven player, how does that affect how you approach a matchup? Because most characters or most players, you figure, I mean, they go into a matchup and most people will tell you, okay, I may give away the first round or two just to see how you react to certain things, to see if you know that this hits or if you know what's going on here or whatever. But I mean, do you still approach it in that way with Raven, or
that's exactly how I go into pretty much every fight with Raven. I test the waters. Like, I will show them the quarter circle forward 2 and see if they know that one, and then I will do a couple of mix-ups with that and see if they know those mix-ups, and I will keep testing their knowledge of the character until I find something that they don't know, and I might capitalize on that. But if I find that this is a really knowledgeable player that really knows Raven in and out, I just break it down into how many 50-50s can you guess correctly.
So even though he's a little backwards in the way that you play him, in that he becomes more effective the more you know about him, you still approach the match.
Yeah, because he's such a a character that is not played regularly. It's not something that everybody has in their community. Like, everybody has a Mishima in their community, but not everybody has a Raven. So you have to go into it just finding out exactly how much they know, and from there working with their knowledge.
And that is too true. Just to tell everyone out there, because I hear some Raven fans, on the boards and whatnot, and all this and that, but you're the only Raven player that I've seen in a tournament. Like, I played Armor King forever, and I thought I was one of the few and the proud that played Armor King. But every once in a while, you'll run into some Armor King players out there, but not Raven. I have yet to see any other Raven.
Actually, most of my favorite matches that I've played in this game are against other Ravens, because obviously we both know our character, and then it's really a test of how many 50-50s can I make this other person guess. Like this year at EVO, I had to play Cynic in my pool, and Cynic is famous for his Raven, and because I knew that he knew everything about Raven, I was really able to break my game down into how can I outthink Cynic at his own character.
Well, and it sounded like you also ran into a bunch of Ravens over in Japan, too.
I did, actually. He's actually a popular character there. It's surprising, but most of the people there, feel the same way about him as I do. He's not that strong of a character. He's just a really fun character to play.
Well, I guess you have to have something if your character's garbage. If they're garbage and not fun,
ninjas are always fun. Falling from the sky, always a fun thing to do to people.
Well, I mean, admittedly, in T5 when he first came out, I loved him. I thought, I mean, he may not have been the strongest character in the game, but I mean, he had some juice that you could work with, and he was really fun. And you know, they changed the break dance, which really irritates me because I hate having to do that move out of full crouch rather than doing it out of crouch dash. But
Berserker forward, yeah.
yeah, but you know, I played him a bunch in T5, and then they started changing stuff in DR and
actually, one of the things I think made him better in 6 is that they gave him the like auto counter moves, which actually made him his weakness before was that he had no way to defend himself. But now, when you're trying to set up your 50-50s, you actually have a lot of defensive options, like his backback 2 transitioning instantly if he gets hit on a counter hit into falling from the sky on somebody was a great improvement over 5. So it's even more fun when you trap people in some of these auto counter things.
Okay, so what else does he have the auto counter of? I think he doesn't have
any move that has 1+2. So forward turn 1+2, back turn 1+2, or crossover forward 1+2. All of those will, if he gets hit while starting up the animation, fall out of the sky on top of people. Backback 2 also has the same property.
And they also added falling from the sky or down forward 4, right? Or wait, no, that's a kick, right?
Yeah, you can do down forward 4-4-4 and then fall from the sky.
Because I know that was a big issue in T5 as well, is that down forward 4, or his version of the axe kicks. I mean, they were really good, but you could launch him, off of either one.
It's still the same now.
Yeah. So does the additional forward help at all with that?
Almost never. And that's one of those, how much knowledge does your opponent have of the character? Like, if they only knew him from 5 and they're looking for axe kicks to be punishable, and then suddenly you're not there to be punished, yes, you might get a cheap hit or two, but after they've seen it once, it's not reliable anymore.
Well, because I would figure, because I'm fairly certain it's more safe than either of the axe.
No, it's basically the same, because they can jab you out of the sky if they know it's coming.
Gotcha.
And then juggle.
I mean, I guess it's better than eating the launcher, So a little.
Yeah, save yourself 20 damage.
Well, there's always that old school trick where if you don't have enough time to actually get out of the way of something, specifically an unblockable or some sort of setup like that, jump into it. At least it'll kill 20% of the damage. But okay, so is that pretty much it for the tricky disappearing stuff? Just anything with a 1+2.
Anything with the 1+2, backpack 2, but he's also got a different form of his counters where he can do back 1+3 or back 2+4, where he just stands there, and if he takes a hit, he dematerializes and rematerializes behind them or in front of them, depending on which one you chose. He still takes damage from whatever he got hit by, but he's not juggleable in that position. Also, his back turn punch parry is a 1-frame startup and deals a grip of damage if you actually hit it.
1-frame startups are always nice. How long does it linger out there?
Not very long, but it's especially after crossover forward 4. If you haven't hit that max range where you're safe, often people will try and punish it and get stopped by the back turn punch parry. But and calling it a punch parry is kind of ambiguous too, because it also stops kicks and lows for some reason sometimes.
Lows? Okay, but you're gonna have to draw an example, because I don't think I've ever seen that.
Like Wang's waning moon throw, he hits you behind him, and then they'll come up for their follow-up, which is usually the low kick to the punch launcher. Often, if you time it right, you can parry that kick.
That is goofy. So
yeah, if they're off by it'll stop kicks as well.
So is it all kicks or just certain kicks?
I think it's all kicks. Anything that's not a knee or an elbow, or a low most of the time. It won't do all those, but occasionally it will catch a low.
So it's just it's not even a punch parry at all. It sounds like it's just universal.
Yeah. It's pretty universal.
Oh, well, that's nice. So, and he doesn't have anything from facing forward, I don't think, right? He doesn't have like a
No, he doesn't have it. Nope.
I mean, I guess he has
Unless you're timing that back too.
All right then. Well, I'm trying to think of again, like going back to like these questions. Any little like bits of knowledge or anything? Is there anything that we haven't covered yet that we'll throw out there?
I just want to talk about my favorite move in the game with Raven, which is his back 3-3 rather. It's often used as a bound move, but a lot of people don't know that there are other moves that transition out of it, and even like high-level players who really know Raven well forget that that move exists. So you can do like back 3-3, 3+4, and he'll stop the animation dead, turn around, and then do what is usually his forward 3+4. I mean, I can't tell you how many. Oh, sorry, yes, back 4-4.
Gotta get those Tekken notations.
right. Back 4-4. Anyway, so I've ended like lots of really clutch, like low life matches just by throwing out that move because nobody even remembers that that move exists. So keep that in your arsenal.
Which is weird because usually, like at least for me, when I was just dicking around with him, like back 4-4 seemed to be a pretty decent bounder for like juggles, but it's actually that's something that that we should talk about that move because I think it's is it high? I want to say like it's mid high. But
It depends on if you hold the back. You can do back, hold the back 4-4, or back neutral 4-4, or back 4 neutral 4, and you get two different versions. You get a fast version which is high, or a slower version which is high mid.
Gotcha, but I think that gives him advantage, or maybe not advantage, but it puts him crouch.
Pretty sure it leaves him. It puts the opponent in crouch. I think if you hit the slower version, the one that ends with a mid. But if you do the back 4 neutral, hold back 4-4, 3+4, it becomes a low and then a mid.
All right. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at all these options here on the frame. Okay, so just the regular back 4, neutral 4. That is -3 to -2, which I can only imagine is like an axis issue. And then opponent recovers crouch, and then he gets +2 to 3 if it hits, and they're still crouching. And then the back 4, that is -9 on block.
Yeah.
And then +2.
You almost never want to use that. There's almost no reason to use that. Unless you're going to transition into that low.
Okay, so you said, so that one is the back 4, 3+4? That's what you said?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's like, wow. That's really, really punishable.
It is, but almost nobody knows that that low is coming.
Yeah, I was going to say, if that's it, I mean, if it catches them, I mean, it's worth it, no matter how punishable it may be. I do like that move. I like how it's just the animation of it, just the double kick. But so that's that's your little shenanigans piece.
Yeah, I use that often at the end of the game. Like I don't know what to do. We're both low on life. I need to throw out something that they've never seen before, and that's my go-to.
So actually, something I did think of another question. A lot of people hate on his lows just from facing forward. I never really thought they were like insanely bad. Like the biggest problem I think he has is that he doesn't have a quick low that high crushes from facing forward. He has the jumping low.
He has down forward 3, which crouches quite low and reaches a long way and is very fast.
That's the one where he like does a little roll, right? And like kicks out.
No, he just gets really low to the ground and kicks.
Trying to like visualize what that would be because I know he has the jump. Down 3 is just like the little ankle kick.
Yeah.
That's gonna bug me that I can't think of it what that is because I know that he has like the little. I thought it was a little like spin low.
He's got that would be the 4, the down forward 4. If you do it down forward 3, he just extends his leg really far out while crouching really low to the ground.
Because well, I mean, the reason that I bring it up is, a lot of people bash on his lows, and I never really thought that they were all that bad. And
I disagree. I think his lows are really bad. They're really punishable, really slow, really easy to see and block on reaction.
Well, I suppose if you put it that way, but like the only thing that I thought that he was missing was just like generic down 4, because that little tail kick has ended so many matches, Tekken. But I guess try it. God, I wish I could remember the fucking notations of that move. It's gonna irritate me. But I always thought down 3 was pretty good. Its only downside was that it doesn't high crunch.
It's really low range.
Yeah, it does. And I guess it doesn't give him advantage either, which is kind of shitty. But I mean, it's not insanely punishable. I want to say it's only -11. Maybe it's more at certain situations, but I can't imagine it's much more than that. Down back 4 obviously is going to be super punishable. And then jumping
Down back 4 does lead to combos on counter hit, which is nice.
That's true, and it does high crush, so that's always a plus. Jumping low, trying to remember like what that is.
Down back 3.
Yeah, what that is on block. I don't think it's insane. It says -11 here, so I mean that's not too bad. But like you said, it is slow, and you can see it on reaction if you're used to it. But always some trickery there to think about.
Another trickery thing with him is his backflip to 3+4, his unblockable, where he spins through the sky. That is a really great way to end a match if your opponent is next to a wall, because it makes it even harder to sidestep it, and it tracks a bit.
Huh.
And because it's made up of like 5 or 6 different moves, 5 or 6 different hits, even if just a few of them hit, it's pretty good chip because it's unblockable.
Nice. And something else I was going to ask too. He has the up 3 string, and you can do up 3/3. There's a few different options, but I know the low one. I was messing around with him earlier today, and you can do up 3, down 3, and then press 3 again, and he does like
and fall from the sky.
Yeah, fall from the sky. But it's like he supercharges, And I was trying to figure this out, and I couldn't replicate it. But he can do up 3, down 3 into just supercharged. Like it looks like he's about to do falling from the sky, but then he just stops and he stays supercharged. Do you know how to do that?
I don't know how to do that one.
Because I sat there for like 10 minutes trying to recreate it. Because the second time I threw the move out, he supercharged and didn't do the fall from the sky. I was like, that's kind of weird. I was like, it's also neat, a little bit of trickery there. And then I kept trying.
If you tried to do it a couple times in the same round, he actually has a move where if he supercharges like 2 or 3 times in the same round, he gets different properties on his subsequent charges. So that might be what you saw.
Well, what do you mean by different properties?
If he charges a couple times on his third or subsequent charges, he can hit back in 1+2 and become unhittable for a few seconds.
Huh. I suppose it could have been, because he has a lot of different crap that like supercharges or whatever, and usually most people are supercharging to get a counter hit in practice or whatever. I suppose that's an option. All I know is it was really weird, and I'm glad I remembered it because I wanted to ask about it. But yeah, I guess that's going to go unanswered.
Actually, thinking about the up 3 stuff, that's another thing about Raven. His 1+2 command throw is devastating. Like it just does a grip of damage, and there's lots and lots of ways to buffer that input animation while he's doing some other move, and especially up 3 or up back 3, they both leave you at +9 or something if you get hit, or even +3 if it's blocked. So you have a lot of time to buffer in that 1+2 throw. I like to buffer in my 1+2 throws from down forward ones, because even on block you're at +1, and if you get them with a hit, it's like +7. And
we should also plug up forward 4 as well, because
up forward 4, yeah,
that's cool. Because I mean, it's not plus or anything. And I think
No, but it has a
down.
second 4 that comes out really fast and is going to make your opponent stop and think for a moment.
Yep. We always like mix-ups and guessing games. So. And, you know, if Raven is a 50-50, there you go. 50-50 right there. It is kind of hardcore on the punishment. If you finish it, up forward 4 is launch punishable, but I don't think the up forward 4 is. I think it's it says -4 to -7, so that's not too bad. Well, that was the last. All I had. You talked about your favorite move. We plugged some up 3 and up 4s and stuff. Anything else to add?
That covers it for me.
I feel like he doesn't have near as many shenanigans as a lot of people think he does. Like not nearly as much as like a Ling, you know, or a Lei. But
No, he just has a solid 50-50.
So you say. So would so you put him at low tier. Do you put him at the very bottom, or are there any characters beneath him?
I would say he's at the very bottom. I think Zafina is a much stronger character than he is.
Ouch, man. Sorry, Raven players. We have other Raven players who think he's shitty. So what were the Japanese players thinking? Were they all pretty much a consensus? Okay, yeah, he's the shittiest in the game.
No, they don't think he's that bad, but they realize he is not anywhere near mid to higher tier.
Gotcha. So, okay, well then, now that we have all of that taken care of, because I agree, I think he's low tier. I honestly, when you start getting down into that cesspool of character selection down there in the fucking gutters, I tried not to even like rank them. Like, you're shitty.
Yeah, they're all equally pretty bad.
Yeah, so I don't really know if I put him at the bottom or not, but I don't care enough. I just know that he's low tier, so I just keep him down there. That's really all I have for Raven. If I do have some general discussion stuff, but if you any last words for this character before we kind of move on?
Well, are we going to talk about Tekken Tag versions of him? Because I did actually get to play quite a bit of him in Tag.
Yeah, of course we're going to talk about that stuff. First question. Okay. So do they have, I mean, obviously in Korea, I mean, they're going to get good stuff. Do they just have like, I don't want to call them like test locations or anything, but do they have like an actual full version, playable version there?
I'm pretty sure it's out. Yeah, it's in the arcades in Asia right now.
I've been trying to follow that up, but you know, since I'm not in Asia, I usually don't give a shit, so I don't like actually pay attention. Like, oh, it came out today. Like, oh, that means nothing to me. Okay, so you played a full version of the game. So how do you think he is? What, is he better, worse, same?
They've taken out some of his moves that I thought had no use whatsoever, like his forward 3, and replaced it with something that is slightly more usable, but not that great. Also, they took away, I mean, it's a universal change, but a lot of lows that used to lead to combos don't lead to combos anymore, especially his Cruiser Forward 2, which was my bread and butter. You can't really combo off of it anymore. So in that way, he's actually been nerfed pretty hard.
See, now that's surprising, because if you're already a shitty character, that would hurt to nerf him some more. You said that was a universal change, so they're like kind of getting rid of the low launchers?
Basically, yeah. A lot of characters who had solid low launchers that led to combos before don't have that option anymore.
That's not too bad. I actually prefer that to like these.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. But in a character like Raven, who really relied on those, it hurts.
Oh, I'm sure. So who was your partner then?
I was playing Raven and Bruce.
How was that working out?
Bruce does a grip of damage. I think he makes up for some of the problems that Raven has. And he's got much better character.
So is this something that you're going to stick to when like the scene starts getting rolling over here in the States? Are you going to stick with Raven, or are you going to just try to pick a really good character?
I will play Raven forever. Well, Bruce is a great character to back him up in that game. But yeah, I'm probably always going to play Raven. He's just too fun of a character.
Fair enough. So Tekken Tag 2 is obviously, I mean, it's one of those things where it's a mix and match thing. Everybody's going to have their own team, their own style. So when you have Raven in there, are you looking just to try to, since he has these 50-50s, are you looking just to try to pop him up and tag Bruce in to do massive damage, and then when Bruce is in, do the same thing, since Raven has pretty good juggle damage, or how are you trying to work that?
I think Raven has the better launchers, so I usually keep him as my first character, and as soon as I get a big launcher, then I tag in Bruce to do the real work, to do the damage to the other player.
Yeah, and I can only imagine that his wall filth is probably better than Raven.
Well, Raven's wall filth consists of an infinite now, so that's always fun.
What? Okay,
yeah.
Fill me in. What is this infinite
on big characters like Bear or Jack or Marduk even too, I think. If you get them to a wall, he can do back turn 3+4, turn around, jab, turn around, back turn 3+4, turn around, jab, turn around, back turn 3+4. You have to do it over and over. It just keeps launching them.
And that's a legitimate tech trap, or not tech trap, but legitimate infinite. Like you can't do anything to get out of it.
Yeah, no, you can't do anything. Well, technically, you can. I think you can do your crash thing to get your friend in and use up your Netsu, but otherwise, no. It's a real combo.
That is so fucking dumb. Oh, man. And that's going to be the theme of these discussions, too, because I have a topic about some other dumb shit. But I do want to hear more about Tekken Tag 2, because so how much of Tag 2 did you play, and how much of Tekken 6 did you play? Like, is everyone jumping onto Tag 2 bandwagon, kind of leaving T6 alone, or what?
I didn't get to play Tag 2, like, the whole time. I played maybe 50 games of it, but I played like 600 games of Tekken 6 when I was there.
So what's the deal then? Like, so it's out. It's, you know, the full version is out and whatnot. Why are people not like playing that and playing T6 still?
Well, when I was in Japan, it was not out yet. When I played Tag, I was at Evo.
Oh,
but Tag is out in Japan now, after I've returned.
Gotcha. Okay, I got confused. I thought you were in Japan playing Tag.
No, not while Tag was.
Okay, gotcha. Well, man, I'm still like on the fence about how I feel about like all this weird stuff that they're adding, because I still think walls have no place in Tekken, and like, especially with this infinite garbage, I don't know like how that's gonna work out or anything. But
there was infinite wall stuff in Tekken 4, so it's not like it's new to the genre.
No, but I mean, look at how popular Tekken 4 was. So
that's true.
That out there. So have you? I guess I don't really know what your reason was for going over to Japan. Was it like a pleasure thing? Are you going back sometime soon?
No, I'm just going for vacation. A lot of friends there, and I speak Japanese a bit, so it's a fun time to travel around.
You're going to have to go over there, play some Tag 2, and come back and report hardcore.
We'll do.
Start capping matches and stuff. So, okay, so we have the Tag 2 stuff. So, you know, obviously we're going to have to wait for it for a while here in the U.S., but hopefully they'll get it to us sooner rather than later. And I have yet to hear about, you know, there's been these rumors going around that, you know, they're going to try some location tests here in the U.S. for the arcade machine, but I have yet to hear anything about that yet, about any of that actually, you know, going through or becoming real.
No, I haven't heard. But actually, going back to one of your previous podcasts, you were talking about Street Fighter X Tekken and Tekken X Street Fighter. I don't think they are going to do a Tekken X Street Fighter. The people at Namco that I was talking to said that they hadn't started development on it even, so at this late point in the game, I can't see that they will finish it.
You know, that doesn't really surprise me all that much, because we have a lot of games dropping next year. So if they do end up doing a Tekken X Street Fighter, I mean, I always figured that it probably wouldn't be for a while, because even if the Tag 2 crew were to jump right on ship over to Tekken X Street Fighter, I mean, you still probably wouldn't have it for at least another year or so. or whatnot. Although
Yeah, and,
obviously
and it would be beyond the hype already, so there wouldn't be much call for it anymore.
Exactly. I mean, I guess, we've been surprised in the past before, but I don't really see that game coming anytime soon. But hopefully, Tag 2 holds us off for a while. But I'm glad that you mentioned Street Fighter X Tekken, because have you been paying attention to like any of the news that's been coming out about that game?
Not particularly. I mean, I've seen the new Pandora thing. That was the last bit of news that I got on it.
What's I guess maybe we're talking about the same thing, because I heard about this gen system. I don't know if that's what they're calling it, the Pandora thing.
Where you can sacrifice one of your characters to give your point character more damage or more health or something.
Oh, weird. No, I actually haven't heard about that mechanic. But that sounds like an in-game mechanic. But have you heard anything about this gen system?
Nope.
Okay, well, because there's been a ton of talk about it recently, because I want to say, maybe it was a while ago, but I want to say like last week, maybe a little bit before that, they released this information how they're going to do a gem system for Street Fighter X Tekken, and it works pretty much exactly the same as you would imagine it would in an RPG, where each gem does a different stat buff, and you can put it on your characters. But like for that alone, it scares me. Like just that idea that you can have these gems and stuff scares me. But
really, will there be an option to play without gem?
Well, that's the whole issue, like the whole thing surrounding the issue, because not only are we going to have to figure out whether or not the community is going to be playing with or without the gems, but if for whatever reason some people decide to start playing the game with the gems, it gets even more convoluted because only certain gems are available through certain retailers. And my thoughts on it, and from the sounds of it, after you buy the game and after it initially releases, you'll have like the option or something to buy or download the rest of the gems. But as far as I know, there's no confirmation on that at all. So in theory, in order to get all of these gems, you would have to like buy or get them from different retailers. And like it's just ridiculous. Like I want to say that there's already over like 100 or some confirmed gems. And like I know the most ridiculous one that I can think of is that there's some gems that you can only get by buying Pepsi products and then like spending Mountain Dew points or whatever the fun and then buying them. Like it's just ridiculous how they're doing it. But there's been a lot of.
I can't imagine that being like tournament legal. I mean, if the game ever becomes a tournament type game.
Well, here's the funny thing about you mentioning just that, because there was actually a big article on SRK the other day that I was reading through. I want to say Keats wrote it, but it was about this. Okay, what are we going to do with this gem system? Are we going to allow it? Are we not going to allow it? And one of the big issues is that I guess the developers intended for it to be part of the competitive scene, so they made it as a balancing tool. So the game was made for these gems to exist. Like the characters their strengths and weaknesses were developed to coincide with these gems. And like that was a big issue with that, because now everybody's like, well, it's a part of the game. It's supposed to be in the game. And then now everybody's, talking about, banning them and whatnot. And from the article that was written, of all the options available, whether you buy them or whether you allow only certain gems or whether you allow all gems, whatever, the person who wrote the article, and I want to say it was Keith, I'm fairly certain it was, he said that the easiest and best option would be for tournament organizers to buy all the gems and make sure that all the gems are on each station.
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, and well, that was my thought. I was like, if that ever happens, that game is dead. I mean, it's dead in the water. Because for one, tournament organizers are just I
couldn't see that game being a tournament-ready game anyway. I mean, it just seems like a fun thing to do while you're waiting for something else to come out. I can't see it being a completely competitive game.
See, I thought it was going to be competitive as Marvel. the game itself on paper isn't all that good or balanced or, competitive if you just kind of want to generalize it that way. But as a tournament-worthy scene of, like, popularity, I guess that's probably the best word of it, it'll probably be really strong. A lot of people are going to like it. You have these two genres competing and whatnot. So kind of like, Marvel, you have all these players playing it, and that game is garbage. I don't know how anybody can think of that game as a good game, because it's not. It's a complete piece of shit. And even a lot of Marvel players will tell you that it's just crazy cheese all over the place. So, but
it's the cheese that they know. It's the cheese that they know. Plus, because there are so many other 2D games that are really popular right now, like the new Marvel is coming out, or it might even already be out. Then Street Fighter AE 2012 is coming out, and all these other things that will keep people's minds off of this serious problem of a game in Tekken versus Street Fighter vs. Tekken.
No, and I completely agree. And I was actually kind of excited for it because I'm not really a 2D guy. I can play Marvel just because it's not as crazy technical on like the linking system that Street Fighter is. So playing Marvel, like, mechanically didn't bug me at all. But playing Street Fighter is a big problem for me. So I was kind of pumped for Street Fighter X Tekken because, it has more of a combo system that Marvel does, but you have the Street Fighter life bars, so you don't die in one fucking combo. So I was a little pumped for it. It seemed kind of fun. Like, it could be pretty neat. And then they just dropped this gem bomb, and I was like, whoa, this game is done. It's officially done as a competitive game. And everyone's arguing about it. Everyone is arguing about it. Like, okay, what do we do with the gems? Are we going to have just some of them? Are we going to mess with it and see which ones are busted and just ban those? Are we going to let them all come into the game? And, it's just going to ruin it. Like, you either have to ban all of them, like, just outright, or you just watch the game die. It's that simple. And what's really funny is that no one yet knows how the gem system is going to work. Like, do you have to assign gems at the start menu to certain characters and then go into your versus menu or whatever, or do you do it at the versus menu, or how does that work? So not only is it scary just as a theory, but we have no idea how they're actually going to implement it. So, and that was another
Street Fighter. Soul Calibur had modes where you could, equip weapons with special properties, but that was never a tournament legal thing. It was just sort of a side thing that you could do that was fun. But, I'm sure they will give you some option of turning off gems completely, or if you're going to have a tournament for it, manually just turn them all off.
Yeah, you would hope so. You really would. But, the fighting game community has done some crazy stuff, and I can completely see people just being on vastly different pages on this topic, and it's just not going to go anywhere. Because, if you want a game, at least a fighting game, to be anywhat successful, like, Evo has to pick it up. And, if this gem system just goes bonkers, I don't see Evo picking it up. Plain and simple.
And they've got their slate pretty full for next year anyway. There's going to be Calibur 5 and the new AE version of Street Fighter and, whatever other games. There's already a lot of games. I can't see it being picked up by Evo.
Yeah, and
it's too neat.
I agree. Yeah, we have fucking 10 fighting games coming out next year, so we're going to have plenty going on. And then Soul Calibur, that comes out in January, so if that's anywhere close to a quality product, you're going to have a lot of people playing that. So let's see what goes on with that. And kind of another little plug here for the podcast. I know we're only doing Tekken, but believe that we're going to be doing some Soul Calibur once that comes out.
I'll be back for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I will have to drag you, if necessary, back to the podcast, although I don't think it will be necessary, but you will definitely be a must. And I know Eris hasn't been too warm and fuzzy to the idea of doing the Tekken stuff. Maybe he'll be more inviting for a Soul Calibur thing, but I know he has his own podcast going on, so I have to maybe I'll leverage you to try to get him on the podcast.
We'll do podcast X podcast.
Yes, absolutely. It'll be fantastic. But yeah, I mean, expect lots of podcasts for Soul Calibur. That's gonna happen. We're gonna obviously continue the Tekken thing once Tekken Tag 2 comes out. I was just really sad to see this fucking gem news, like for Street Fighter X Tekken, because I kind of had some hopes for it. I was like, yay, a 2D game I can maybe play that won't be nearly as busted as Marvel, but it looks like it's gonna be just as busted as Marvel. So.
Yeah, I never really had hopes for it. It always looked busted to me.
See, I thought it always looked like what Marvel. I'm not gonna say what Marvel should have been, but it's like Marvel with Street Fighter life bars, so it's a little more balanced because your entire team can't die in one combo. But now with these gems, maybe they can. Who knows? But I don't know. It looked kind of neat, kind of easy to play, easy to pick up. So I wasn't like holding high hopes for it, but I thought maybe it would be kind of fun and interesting. But I guess not. So that's really all I have right now. I feel like I had something else on the agenda that I'm forgetting about. Can't remember. So okay, already plugged. Go ahead.
Oh well.
Oh, sorry. Thought you were interjecting there. Okay, well, we will end our podcast as we normally do. I know that you have been on a podcast before, but I still got to make you do a sound off. You're an angry person. I know you are. So I have to ask you, Sam. You're gonna have to pick something else than what you did originally, even though I don't remember at all what you did originally. But I mean, rant about something. Tell us something that makes you angry.
Home buttons make me angry. Home buttons make me livid, especially when I'm playing on a stream at Evo, and somebody, I won't name any names, but their initials are DJ Core, hits a home button, and suddenly the whole game has changed, and we have to play it again. That's what makes me angry.
Oh my God, you have no idea how funny that is. You must not have listened to the podcast with Brahma.
I didn't hear all of it, no. What did you talk about? That same thing? Because he was my opponent. Brahma was my opponent at the time.
Yeah, we know because that was his sound off.
Rad, alright. Well, then it must be fucking true.
Yeah, and he didn't shy away from naming the player either, so not exactly a secret anymore. But yeah, it is what it is. I hate that as well. And much like what I said with Brahma, you would think that they would have some easier fixes for that, but of course they don't, because they're all about catering to the home player and not the person who actually travels around and turns.
Actually, another funny story about the home button. Like the year after that, they banned wireless controllers altogether so that people wouldn't do that anymore. And in one of the Mortal Kombat, I think, pools, somebody was using a standard wireless controller, and that person won his match. After the match, his opponent complained to one of the judges that this kid was using a banned controller, and instead of saying, well, that's your fault for not reporting it earlier, the judge made them play again, and the opposite person won. Which I think is kind of ridiculous.
That is really ridiculous. Was he? I presume that the second match he was not using a wireless controller.
Yeah, the second match he had to change controllers, but the outcome was the opposite. The person who had won the first time lost the second time because this person reported him for using a banned controller after the match.
Man, where you said this was Evo, or did I?
Yeah, at Evo, in one of the Mortal Kombat pools.
Oh my God, man! Like, I really wish that I don't want to say that tournament organizers or event organizers should be more sticklers, but you definitely should stand by your rules a little bit more. Like, it's one thing if you fuck up in something, like let's say you mess up the bracket or something like that, and you have to kind of shuffle people around to make good. Like, that makes sense that you're going to have to make some concessions, but like, I mean, that's just blatantly ignoring a rule, and like creating your own solution for it.
Yeah, and it's not the rule's fault that this happened. I mean, it's just bad administration of the rule at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there are way better ways to solve a problem like that. And I mean, if it were me being the judge in that position, I would have said, well, you should have said something sooner. It's a little late now.
Yeah, absolutely. That, or you have to do the complete dick move, which God, I mean that I guess it depends on the context, but like in that particular scenario, I mean I definitely would have at least tracked that guy down and been like, listen, your wireless controller needs to get the fuck out of here now before I ban you. But yeah, I mean if they already played the match,
I mean that would be sensible, but the match was over.
Yeah, I wouldn't have messed with the match results unless there was some sort of influence one way or the other. That's just sort of weird. But I mean, that's what it is. I mean, we're in this weird environment where everyone is doing their own thing, and the only real cohesive unit out there is Evo. And even then, like, it has a quote-unquote tournament season, but I mean, it's basically just other tournaments riding Evo's coattails, and then Evo is playing Big Brother and trying to instill certain rules into other events. But that's a whole other topic that's just weird and confusing and convoluted. So, so before we end this podcast, I did read this really funny thing, speaking of Dan, that he put up on his Facebook. That I wanted to share with the world because it's just a little joke, but I thought it was really funny. So there's this man and his wife, and these are two excerpts from their diary on a particular day. So her diary. Tonight, I thought my husband was acting weird. We had made plans to meet at a nice restaurant for dinner. I was shopping with my friends all day long, so I thought he was upset at the fact that I was a bit late, but he made no comment on it. Conversation wasn't flowing, so I suggested that we go somewhere quiet so we could talk. He agreed, but he didn't say much. I asked him what was wrong. He said nothing. I asked him if it was my fault that he was upset. He said he wasn't upset, that it had nothing to do with me and not to worry about it. On the way home, I told him that I loved him. He smiled slightly and kept driving. Can't explain his behavior. I don't know why he didn't say I love you too. When we got home, I felt as if I had lost him completely, as if he wanted nothing to do with me anymore. He just sat there quietly and watched TV. He continued to seem distant and absent. Finally, with silence all around us, I decided to go to bed. About 15 minutes later, he came to bed, but I still didn't feel that I still felt that he was distracted and his thoughts were somewhere else. He fell asleep. I cried. I don't know what to do. I'm almost sure that his thoughts are with someone else. My life is a disaster. And then his diary. Motorcycle won't start. Can't figure out why. Yeah, hard. So just a little joke there. I raffled when I read it because it's like, I mean, I rambled on there for how long reading her diary because it's just all this ridiculous emotional congestion, and then he's just pissed that the motorcycle won't start. So just a little feedback, not just to women, but to everyone. Don't overthink things. Sometimes things are not as deep as you think they might be. So there you go. There's your Zen moment, everyone, for the day. So that's all I got for this episode. Any lasting thoughts or last comments before we call it a day?
I want to see everybody playing that Soul Calibur 5 when it comes out.
Oh, it will. And for sure here, where we are in Iowa. It seems kind of random, but yes, Iowa does have a scene. Not sure what it'll actually be really interesting to see where the scenes kind of fall, because Chicago was like the epicenter, but a lot of those players have moved on, so we'll see what happens. I should apologize a little bit to our listeners if there was any funkiness with the recording. Skype was kind of being a gigantic vagina, so we're recording on Ventrilo, which seems to be working okay. But who knows? There might be some weird echoey or choppy shit. But hopefully it's still listenable. to everyone out there. So thank you, Isam, for coming on the podcast again. I'm sure
Thanks for having me.
that we will invite you back. Actually, I'm more than sure. I'm 100% positive that we will invite you back once we start doing the Soul Calibur stuff. And I'm sure we'll ask you back as well when Tag 2 hits and we start doing that stuff. But otherwise, yeah, Raven is a complete ass, but he's a fun character. Hopefully we kind of filled your head with some stuff, a little bit of knowledge about that character. If not, oh well, we'll try to do better next time. So thanks a lot for listening, and we shall see you next time.